Why did you guys decide to pick this as a topic?
So, do you remember the basically climbing 101 class that I taught
Mm-hmm.
people how to move through? It ends on day 6 of talking about projecting.
Mm-hmm.
But mental strategies for projecting can't really be talked about without discussing fear.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't talked about anything involving the mental aspect of climbing at all in our previous videos. So this is our first one that we want to do, and I don't really think you can do a lot of the other mental blocks without discussing fear first. So really, it's the first attempt to try to do that and dive into at least that part of climbing.
Yeah.
Okay, so nays and jingles with Jackie and Sam, the better climber today. One of the things we realized we haven't done that we want to try and do is probably introduce ourselves. And it's going to be a little weird because I know Sam, I know you, and I know you. And I'm sitting here going, I'm going to tell everyone who knows about me.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a little weird and awkward.
But it was brought up earlier that we actually haven't introduced ourselves.
Yeah, we started posting stuff and moving on. So now we're going to try and say hi. So, hi. So I'm Nays. I've been climbing for 30 years now. I have been a coach and a setter probably, oh my gosh, maybe almost half of that.
Probably.
Yeah, at least 10 years I've been coaching and setting for at least 10 years, if not longer now. I'm no longer in the coaching and setting business in an actual climbing gym anymore, but now I'm working as a safety officer for an airport. I work for a police department, fire department, EMT. We do everything out there. So that's the very quick nitty gritty of my background. I used to love bouldering. Now when I boulder, I hurt more. So now I really enjoy being on a rope. It's like, give me a rope and I'll be good. So yeah, so that's me.
Yeah.
In all of my shortness.
And so I'm Jingles. I've been climbing about 10 years now, and I've also done the route setting. I did that for 6 or 7 years. Coached for about 4 years, 5 years, somewhere in that ballpark. Really, my big thing, bouldering. The opposite of the guy I climb with the most, ironically enough. But yeah, I'm like, you give me a good face, slab, arete, dihedral, I'm all for it. I'm not big into the roots, but I'll pull on them just because, well, it's still climbing, so it's still fun. But that's definitely my weakness is the endurance through roots.
Yeah.
And Jackie is our newest member, recently joined us.
Yeah, excited to be here. I've probably been climbing almost 4 years now, I'd say. I have absolutely no coaching experience, so pretty much everything in this conversation is just my experience and what I've had, but I don't coach anybody for climbing, so it'll definitely just be a different perspective here.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I like it.
And to my left here is Sam. He is a guy that I brought him on today, or we brought him on today because he has a very different perspective from where Jingles and I generally come from, and I love talking to him about it. And hopefully, if he enjoys the conversation today, he'll come back for a couple of other conversations that I think would even be more valuable when we're talking about setting and coaching in general.
Oh, yeah.
So this is Sam.
Hi, my name's Sam. I've been climbing on and off for 13 years. Traveled around, done a couple of different things as far as careers go. I was also the head route setter at Bliss Climbing and Fitness for about 2.5 years. And during that time, I was lucky enough to also work with the youth team and help coach and attend some of the competitions outside of the state. So happy to be here and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. Love your perspective on stuff.
Always. All right, so let's see if we can guide this conversation without it sounding like a freaking moron.
Yeah. Oh, that also being said, we're not like podcasters or videographers or anything like that.
We are 100% professional.
We will be as professional as we can be, but this is a conversation that we're having and just kind of seeing how it goes and what comes out of it.
All right. With that
So-
being said, I guess today we're here to talk about the first aspect and what I would call the mental aspect of climbing and how we approach climbing, with at least with the mental side of it.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about fear.
Yes, we've taught you how to climb. We've gone over with you guys how to use your body. Your body should listen to your brain, and if you're scared, it's not going to do that. So we need to figure out all kinds of different things on fear and how to manage it and what's reasonable in all of that good stuff.
How it rears its ugly little head.
Oh, but beautiful head on occasion.
Yeah. So
It's
oh my god. So yeah, we've talked about a ton of technique, and this I think is the groundwork for the how to approach the mental aspect of climbing. How do you approach different things when it comes to projecting, pushing somebody, pushing yourself? It all comes down, at least in my mind, to fear and where that comes from, why we experience it. And anyone who ever tells you that they've climbed for 14 seconds or has been alive for more than 2 years, so that if they say they're not afraid of things, probably wrong.
yeah.
Like they're probably lying to you. And there are some people out there that I know that just generally just don't feel fear the way that other people do as a general rule. But generally speaking, everybody's afraid. And everybody is also scared to tell everybody that we're afraid.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, it's
Because-
the desire for self preservation is built into our existence. That's basically, it's an inherent thing that keeps us alive as creatures. So it's going to come, whether it's social or physical. You're still trying to preserve yourself.
Absolutely. And like there was a quote somebody told me a long time ago, and I don't remember who it was. But they said that fear is nothing more than anticipation of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always loved that. And it can be physical pain, it can be mental pain.
Emotional.
You know,
pain.
I gotta ask this girl out to the prom.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
You're gonna
Oh
get
my
scared
gosh.
because
That's it.
what the worst thing they can say is no. No, it's not.
The,
No,
the
it's
reaction
not.
that we all got,
Yeah.
like, I'm having to think about that. It was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I remember that moment.
Yeah.
My stomach is turning right now.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I've tried really hard not to remember that moment. It was so
That's
embarrassing.
why I got married, so I don't have to go through it again.
Thank God.
That's fair. But I bet it was still nerve wracking to
Oh
do
my
that. And
Oh
you know,
man,
but
I was
that's
shaking like a leaf in the wind.
absolutely. But why wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
You know, that's
got
a
a
very
lot on the
big. It's a
line,
very
yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's fear literally everywhere
Mhm.
throughout your life. So let's talk about it in climbing and how it affects your climbing, and then maybe it can help you somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So one of the things that I've always asked myself when it comes to fear in general is like, is fear a good thing? Because it does hold you back. It stops you from doing things sometimes. Or is it a good thing, or is it only a bad thing?
So that's one of those things. I'm going to jump to a quote from Eric Horst where he says, "Is it a rational fear or an irrational fear?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you've got to go into when you have that thought process that you just did of the like, is it holding me back or not? If it's a rational fear, it should be holding you back. Can I die in this situation? It should hold you back, and you shouldn't be pushing like as far as you could. You know what I mean?
I mean, because what does fear tell you? As a general rule, when you're afraid, what is it telling you to do?
To pay attention.
To pay attention and stop.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh God, is it an innate thing that we have inside of us that's trying to preserve us, to keep us alive, so that we don't go past the point where we cannot return from again, where generally that would result in serious injury or death.
Yeah, it's a physiologic response. It's chemical changes inside of your body. It heightens your awareness. It focuses your perspective. A lot of times you won't see or think of things outside of you. It changes your biologic functions, like wetting yourself. It stops all of your digestion. It's a physiologic response that gets you to pay attention and hone in on whatever the thing, whether it's an animal running at you or you doing 120 on a motorcycle around a corner. All of those things, it causes your body to really pay attention to what's important and make you think yes, no question. Should I not? What should I do next?
So I would argue that the answer to is fear a good thing or only bad is yes, it is both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's and the other thing, whether it's good or bad, is kind of a nil question because it's going to happen. You can't control whether or not you will feel fear. It's every other decision that comes after fear. It's going to happen.
Yes.
And if it doesn't, then you're one of those lucky few who will be able to do great things or die trying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think fear tells you to stop, take a look around, see what's going on. And then the irrational part of it, or the rational or irrational part of it, will tell you, is it okay to proceed or is it not? And sometimes the more you know, the better, because then you can really analyze the situation and be like, oh, well, this is going on, this is happening, this is not actually something that is going to be bad.
You can make an educated decision.
Yeah. And the older you get, the easier that is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like in my case, sometimes the more I know, then sometimes the more afraid I get of something. Because I think about it as airplanes. So since I work at an airport now, the more I learn about airplanes, the more afraid of them I get. Yep. And it's not that they're not built well or they're not generally safe. It's just that I just learned that there's so much more involved in them than what I originally thought. Yeah. And because of that, that scares me. Yeah. And also just sort of me not being in control when I go fly, I get terrified.
And a classic example of that is a young child's willing to jump off of something because they haven't broken a bone yet, so they don't know how bad it's going to hurt when they do hit that hard pavement. Whereas an adult is going to be fearful of stepping off of a step wrong. You know.
And see, I was going to bring up something similar to that because like a lot of the people I go bouldering with now are in their early 20s, and I'm in my late 30s, and so there are a lot of situations where they're yamming for something, and I'm just like, homie, I'm gonna break my arm like do that. Like,
I know how bad this is gonna hurt tomorrow.
There's no way I want to do this, but then. I'll assess the situation and I'll look at it and I'll rationalize my fear and then I'll be like, okay, let's pull on that. Let's see what I can do. I can keep up with these kids.
Yeah, there you go.
I think also going to like the irrational, like what is an irrational fear? And I think for that, it's basically our brains either overestimating the threat, like is this like it basically exaggerates the threat, or it underestimates our own ability. Like we don't realize how strong we are actually.
Yeah.
It's so yes, that's where those prior experiences, like you're talking about, they can kind of help you. So you can be in a situation and you can understand, well, I've done something similar than this to this before. I've done the physical preparation. I'm in the best possible situation that I can be, and those are all leading towards moving through it, or maybe I don't have what it takes right now. Then you're looking at external things like, can I try it without the fear of the same pain and suffering and feel it out, so that's where you get, like, let me hang on the rope and try this out. And so those are all things that are helping you work through whether or not it's a rational fear or not. And then there will be those circumstances where you kind of can't use any of that and you have to trust yourself or bail, but those are all ways of working through whether or not it's a rational or irrational fear.
Yeah, and there are honestly a lot of very rational fears in rock climbing.
That's one of the things that draws people to it. There's the physical aspect, and then you stay on a V2 for the rest of your life. But the toying with the danger and the feeling of taking a 15-foot whipper, that's what keeps. And I don't know about you guys, but that's what keeps me coming back.
Pushing yourself to
because
be better,
free falling. Yeah, exactly. It's scary, and when you survive, it feels good. I don't know any other way to put it.
And you're 100% right. And I'll talk of a specific situation just a couple weeks ago when we were in horseshoe climbing. There's a boulder out there called Glass Bowl, and oh my God, it's such a beautiful boulder. It's great. There's a mono, okay, and it's mildly turned. If you fall off of that, there is a really good chance that you're jamming your finger in that and you're stuck hanging. You're probably going to be 1.5 feet off the ground with one finger just stuck in that hole. And so we're working that thing, and I'm talking to everybody around me, and I'm just like, you have your hands 2 inches away from me while I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And if you think I am going to fall and get my finger caught in this thing, you rip me off of that wall immediately.
Yeah.
Because I would rather not send
Yeah.
than lose my finger or get stuck or break it off or,
It's not
whatever.
worth it. Yeah.
And it's like, because that's a very rational fear.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all started playing with it, and it's like, okay, if I keep my body in a good spot, it's kind of irrational. I think tons of people have done this and not lost a finger, right? So we can do that. And it it's the transition from taking yourself from the I'm gonna poop myself trying this move because it's so scary to the man, I've seen videos of people doing it. So why am I freaking out?
Yeah.
And all of that gets drawn from just your experiences.
And that brings us actually to, so when I was coaching, one of the things that I decided to do is try to figure out why people are generally afraid, so that I can give the kids some tactics on how to deal with that. And that expanded over time, but that example is the first thing that I've always figured out that kids are afraid of, and everybody in general is afraid of. It's the fear of getting hurt, pain, just the physical pain of when you're falling, you get hurt, something gets stuck, you get hurt.
Yeah.
You fall, you break something. Like, that is a legitimate fear that we all have to deal with when we are climbing. It does not go away when you start climbing your first 6 months, and it doesn't go away after you've been climbing for 60 years. It is always there, because the possibility of getting hurt is definitely there.
It's a physical sport.
Without
It's
question.
a survival mechanism like we developed. It's like that's why fear's there, like why your brain creates it, just trying to protect you.
Keep you safe.
Yeah.
The second one that I came up with at the time and have learned about since is also just the inability to trust either your gear that you are using, or I also consider your belayer or the person spotting you as gear at the time.
Absolutely.
Because you are using them as a crutch to help you with something. The gear or the belayer, they're all there to help you. And if you don't trust the person or the thing to help you, then that fear is just going to exponentially get bigger. And you can't deal with it.
And yet again, I'm going to throw in an exact situation of that happening. Climbing Texas Hold'em. There's, I had a little bit of a bad fall, but there's, I don't know, it's 7 millimeter edge that you're on with your right hand. And it is a massive throw. And so I'm doing a pogo to get up to it. And I grab the top of this wall and I pick off of it and I do a front flip coming down. Gosh. Nace was there spotting me. And literally I hear him say, go. And I'm like, Nace has me. I've climbed with this man long enough to know that I'm going to be fine. I fell face first the entire way down. My glasses got bent. That was the worst of the entire fall. And I know it is because Nace was right there, right underneath me catching me. And I've tried that move with I think I had 2 people spotting me, and they have a year of climbing experience. And I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to be doing this right now because I couldn't trust my gear that was underneath me.
Yeah, so your willingness or your ability to trust in the situation around you, the gear, the spotters, the pad placement, the angle of the incline below you, whether it falls off of a cliff or into some sharp sticks, and then there's also your ability to trust in yourself and in your ability and everything like that. All of those things play into your ability to rationalize. Or to choose if it's a rational fear or an irrational fear. Yeah. If it's a perfectly soft landing into a bunch of pillows or mattresses below a fake boulder, that's a little bit irrational compared to doing a front flip face down into a boulder patch.
Yeah, because the other option for that move is a very committed heel hook. The heel's not coming off.
Well, the thing is, though, at Texas Hold'em, the scary part isn't necessarily the move. It's the fact that if you the move asks you to jump and move out backwards. And when you move out backwards, if you go too far, there is a huge drop.
It's
so you
25
really got
foot.
So
there you go.
That kind of trust is something that you can work on, but it doesn't just happen overnight. If I go, so Jackie, you and I have been out climbing outside together, one time?
Yeah.
So if you and I were to go out and I would start working on an actual project, something that's really going to push me out of my comfort zone, I may not be super comfortable with you doing that.
Yeah, and that makes
And
sense to me.
but if I
Don't trust
went
me.
with but if I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
No.
Like, if you develop your relationship with the person that you're climbing with over time, it might happen very quickly. Like, I've watched you belay people in the gym. I trust you way more than I would some other people, but outside out really out of my comfort zone, that might be something that I'm like, I'd rather have Jingles because I've been climbing with him a lot longer. I've been in these situations where I'm scared and I pushed myself, and I'm just like, I just want somebody that I can trust a lot more. And it isn't even to say that the person that I don't trust as much is that I don't trust them at all. It's just that you feel it's your comfort zone.
Yeah, you
feel
don't
more
know. You
comfortable.
don't know that you can trust them. You might want to trust them. You might think that they're trustworthy, but you just don't know. It hasn't been proven.
Yeah. And
It
it
takes
also,
time.
yet
It really
again,
does.
The boulder or the route is going to make a big difference in how much you're willing to push it. Because there's also at the Zen Pen, there's learning to fly, which I think is a V7, V8, something like that. Some massive throw at the top. Jackie got the drone videos of me, right? Super cool videos. Dude, I don't even need a spotter on that. Put a pad underneath me and I'm fine. I'll take that jump 20 foot up in the air, but it's entirely flat underneath. It's the boulder doesn't sway side to side. You can do it with one mat, and you're not going to twist, you're not going to flip or nothing. It's totally irrational to have a fear on that move.
So trusting the gear in general,
Yeah,
to me sounds like it is something that is built over time and experience, whether it be with a person or gear.
yeah,
I don't do a lot of trad climbing, but because I don't have a lot of experience with it. Out of my 30 years, it's the one thing that I think I've done maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
And 2 of those 3 times I have followed. So I don't trust the gear, even though the gear itself is probably solid as snot. It's really good, but the placement of it may not be. I mean, how many times have we been outside and you go up and you clip something, you look at the bolt that's pre-placed there, and you're like, that looks like it's a little rusty.
yeah,
Oh, it spins.
yeah.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't fall on this thing. So the more you go climbing outside or inside, and the more you know what to look for what is safe or unsafe, or at least acceptable versus unacceptable,
And
makes the fear. It definitely goes into the equation of whether or not something is more rational or not to attempt to go through.
well, it allows you to analyze it better.
Exactly. It's the picture of the entire situation. You know what I mean? It's being able to judge, like you're talking about the fall zone and about the direction that the problem is working through and around the rock. Is going to change the way that your body moves. In the case of working on a rope, the person holding the rope, the condition of the rope, the condition of the bolts, all of that sort of stuff. It's painting a picture for your mind of what are the variables going into the equation, like you talked about, working through the equation to be able to determine if that fear is rational or irrational.
Yeah.
Well, something I've heard too is that fear thrives in uncertainty. Like, if you don't know, that's where fear comes. But as soon as you do more of those reps, then you start to become more comfortable and more certain of, hey, I know what I can do. I trust this gear, and like so on and so forth.
I mean, shoot, take your finances. You might see your bank account and it looks slim, and now you're feeling the fear of not having enough money. But then you make a spreadsheet about what money's coming in, what money's going out, and a timeline, and all of a sudden it seems super manageable.
Yeah, so you build a tactic, you build something to help you understand where that fear
to work
is coming
through
from,
the uncertainty.
to build
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so how would we do that in climbing? How would we identify triggers to make you more anxious?
We've already talked about
anxious,
some of those. Like, the first step of your gear, does your pad have a giant soft spot in it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you inspected your rope that day? Checking bolts as you go. We talked about the experience that you have with your belayer. Checking the direction of the route. How's it going? What's below it? All those sorts of different variables. That's helping you paint a picture. It's building your spreadsheet for how you're going to work through it.
Yeah, I thought that when I was coaching, one of the things that I used to tell kids is, like, the tactics you can use to deal with this specific type of fear is to inspect your gear. Learn to trust your person. If you don't trust your person to catch you or belay you appropriately, then you work with them until you feel comfortable enough with them that you can get past that. So
Yeah.
th-
And
th- that
I've gone climbing with people that won't use my draws.
Mm-hmm.
They're brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like literally, I told them, like, oh, yeah, I got these a month ago. And they're like, I like mine.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was some years back. And I'm just like, why won't you use my gear? It's fucking fine.
Yeah,
you know?
you're
But then, like, after climbing outdoors more and, like, seeing what some people will trust their life to,
Mhm. Yeah.
so
I'm not that comfortable.
So,
Okay.
So that is an actual topic that I thought of about 5 seconds ago that I have been like gritting, wanting to go ahead and say. Part of your trusting your gear and your belayer, I've never thought of it this way, is actually just trusting your own experience.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I kind of want to throw that in the same category because it's not necessarily a fear of something, but you have developed a repertoire of things that you have done,
Mhm.
experiences that you've collected, and you're like, okay, well, I've climbed with you, I've seen you climb, I've climbed with you, and I know damn well that we can all go outside and we can climb together and we can be safe because I've watched you over time. So it isn't even
Yeah.
necessarily that your experience that I have watched grow builds my own confidence in something else and in what I want to do. So I'm more willing to do something. I mean, there are people out there who are way more willing to do other things that I'm sitting here going, I would never pull on that.
Dude, not even
Like-
for a second. Yeah.
Like, how many times have we watched like Cedar Wright videos, for example? Where you're just sitting, he's doing something, and you're sitting there going, I would never do that because that is insane, and I don't trust the 50-foot fall that may come after that or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's done that. He's more comfortable taking those risks because he's done that stuff in the past. He knows the gear. He knows the place.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of thing. I just never thought of that as being gear, as like your own experience, as your own gear.
But it is.
Yeah, the gear and your experience, they're all different variables that are compounding into that equation that you're working through. And you think about someone who's new, they don't have that backdrop of experiences, and so that can go in two different directions. That can either go, it compounds their fear because they have nothing to go on to say this is okay and this will work,
Yeah.
nothing to work through the fear with, or it can go the other direction and they don't have anything to be scared of because they don't know how bad it can be.
You're right.
So it's kind of interesting looking at it because you have a lot of experience in this and other people don't. And so it's like, it's the fear is, I think the takeaway is the fear is still there. It's just a difference in how we can paint a mental image or work through that fear. It's either based on your experiences that are making you decide, I will do this, I won't do this, or a new climber who doesn't have that experience. Isn't it interesting the things that so I've been in situations on my own where, I'm 2.5 hours from home and, you're pulling on something super confident, go to top out and it's just a bunch of sand.
And then you're like,
and the speed at which those changes that we were talking about, the physiological changes, the speed at which that happens, and all of a sudden now your body's rigid. Now you're gripping way tighter than you need to. You're starting to get the knot in your stomach that's changing the way that you're focusing. All of a sudden now the heel hook that felt solid feels like it's slipping. Is it slipping? I can't tell.
I'm imagining
and all of a sudden you're just doing that beached whale thing, and it's at that point it's survival. It's not, you're on camera because you're trying to take a video for your old lady, and you know that you just ruined the video, but you survived.
Well, dude, I did that at Roy.
Yeah,
it was me and my dog. Lucky, that was it. And it's like I'm topping out this boulder pumped full of Roy, and it's an amazing boulder. And then instantly I have about a mile hike back to the box truck with a dog and a crash pad. One of them is not going to make it. I'm losing my crash pad if I fall right here. But you just like, just gotta take a breath, realize that you know what you're doing, you're solid, you get through this. Let's get through this, and then take the breath, trust that heel, pull yourself over top, whether you beach whale it or not. However you get, you're making it. You're gonna be good.
You're pushing yourself to finish so that the consequence doesn't come around.
Yeah,
that's what you want to do. And that's it. You're like, oh shit, I don't want to fall and die.
Yeah.
And that's
You just
that's an example of where that fear, that desire for self preservation, it works. There's a reason that we've survived as a species for so long is
Yeah.
because we don't want to die. And you're talking about trust. You're trusting yourself. You're trusting your experience. You're trusting your technique. You're trusting your strength, and you're doing it all so that you can come back and tell other people about it
Yeah.
later on.
Well, and that's one thing. Like, I've had a whole bunch of people that, I talk about climbing with that have never climbed before and this and that. And they're just like, oh, that's crazy. You can get hurt and this and that. And I was like, oh, no, I want to continue doing this. So I try and make sure I don't get hurt.
Yeah.
But I try and find where that line is.
And
so that's where it gets fun for me, is how hard can I push it without getting into a high risk of injury.
And there's different strokes for different folks. Not everybody likes that feeling, but for people who enjoy that feeling, you think about a race car driver, a motorcycle rider, or there's lots of different high risk activities that we as human beings partake in. But it's that feeling of being right on the edge that is so intoxicating. What I mean? It's its own reward. There's a feeling when you get to the speed limit and you throw the next gear. There's a feeling of freedom. There's a feeling of it's almost like leaving the earth.
Yeah.
And there's tons of people that cannot get to that point. They just get to the point where it's like, oh, that's a little scary. I don't like that at all, and they just back off.
Oh, and I've done that.
Yeah.
And I feel nothing but regret and pain. And it's almost, what's worse, the pain of failing or the pain of never trying it to begin with. One time when I was a kid, we hiked all the way up to the bottom of Half Dome. I was maybe like 17, and because I've been scared of heights my whole life. And all of my friends, they go up to the very top of Half Dome, and I never did it. And it's one of the biggest regrets I have in my life is I got all the way to the base of the final ascend up Half Dome, and I never did it. And so it's like, it's never going to leave you. You know what I mean? And so for some folks, that kind of nags at them. You know what I mean?
So that's actually one of the. I don't know how to say this. It's kind of one of those hidden fears that people don't ever like to talk about. One of them, we're going to talk about that one first. That was one I want to talk about next, but we're going to talk about that one first because you brought it up. The fear of failing in front of yourself is another one that I came up with for the kids, because I was always trying to figure out, is like, I know you trust the gear. I know you trust me to catch you when you're doing this thing. And I know you're not afraid of getting hurt because you've done this type of thing before. So it's like, what else is hiding? What else is there that makes people stop? And I came up with two really good ones, and what I think people hide behind. The one that you just said is failing in front of yourself, which I kind of want to go into now. Because that one is one that I just think that everybody ignores or thinks that it isn't going to be a thing.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. It's not talked about. Like people, I was wrestling jiu-jitsu and I never wanted to go to a tournament because I didn't want to lose. So I never got the experience of fighting in a tournament. Failing in front of yourself means you never get to take the first step.
Yeah, and that's something. So when I was the head center at Bliss, one of the things that I learned, because I've never been an amazing climber. Like I've never broken past 512. That's where I was comfortable at my height, and I can still do those sometimes. But I never went further than that, and that could be a physical limitation or it could be a mental limitation. It doesn't matter at this point. But when I was setting at Bliss, one of the things that I learned is that everybody started to look at me as if I was the best climber. Whether I was or not, it was completely has nothing to do with it. But I would climb something one day in particular. I was climbing something for fun, and it may have actually been with you or Zach. I don't remember. But I was climbing with someone. I was on a rope, and I fell. It was no big deal for me. Like I was just like, I fell. Okay, I need to work through this. In the background, I heard one of our members yell at me, and he says, "Oh, Nays, you fell. I didn't think you ever fell." And for whatever reason, at that specific time, at that specific moment, it got to me. And about an hour later, after I got calmed down, I recognized that I was actually kind of holding myself back on a lot of this stuff because I didn't want to push myself in front of other climbers, specifically because I didn't want to be held to that higher standard.
So, and that's what I'm talking about when I mentioned fear of success, because it's happened to me more than once where I've been out climbing and like didn't get the move. Happens, nothing wrong with it. But then you get 3, 4 people behind you. You can't do that? What? That should be easy for you. And now there's the pressure of like, oh, I have to succeed. I don't have another choice. But other people will see that and not push as hard as they can because they don't want to end up in that place of, I have to succeed every time. I now have to on-site every 12A in this gym because I climbed 5 12As incredibly smooth and beautifully. And so everybody thinks I'm just the greatest climber in the gym because I blah, 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 whatever, you know? And so there are people who hold themselves back. I used to climb with one quite a bit where they held themselves back and would give up because they just didn't want the attention of the success.
And that fear of success is the bridge between the fear of failing in front of yourself to the fear of failing in front of other people, which is that whole other side of fear as the self-preservation of your emotional state. You know what I mean? And that fear of success kind of ties everything in together. So it's very interesting you bring that up, and that's dead on. You know, sometimes I will try things when no one else is around that I wouldn't try when there are other people around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy, especially like when you're bouldering and it's like everybody's working on the same project, and it's just so easy to like compare each other and be like, "Hey, Sam's a better climber than me. He should be getting it." You know, I got that move, but he didn't. It's just so easy to compare, especially when you're just lined up like that and put people in those boxes.
Yeah, when everyone's working the same project, that fear of failing in front of other people starts to bring around different feelings. Like, oh, I walk up to something, I don't care if I fall off, perhaps, but now I've got 3 people looking at me, and so now all of a sudden you're feeling different things in your body. You know, a different set of apprehension and anxiety, perhaps that kind of builds because of that fear.
Right, but then it's also, you know, I think one thing that a lot of people don't think about or realize is how no matter what you do in climbing, you're going to have specialties. You're going to be better at slab or face or roofs or, you know, whatever it comes down to. Well, if you're good at slab and face climbing, and now there's a new roof set and everybody's working roof set and it's your weakness, and so you're falling on everything. Now you're just like, I'm not getting a roof again because all I'm doing is falling. Well, now you're just pigeonholing yourself somewhere else because of your fear of failure to becoming a fear of success and getting better at the roof. Well, you know what I mean?
Like, yeah, and that fear is going to happen no matter what. So now we're starting to talk about what do we do. Some people call it dealing with fear. I would call it like moving through fear. Fear is a physiologic response. It's what we make of it that will determine whether or not it's good or bad. You know, so the fear is happening, and if you treat it, well, I'm scared to go into the roof because I'm failing, whether it's because you're failing in front of yourself or other people. The folks that I've seen in my experience that move through the fear and utilize it to their benefit and continue to work with it instead of shy away from it are the folks that continue to succeed and push further than they were before. The folks who become complacent in the fear and let it hold them back and don't even engage in that equation, is this rational or irrational, that just shy away from it. Those are the folks that continue to do pull-ups on V2s and never try anything else in the gym. Yeah. So it's kind of like, what are you going to do with the fear once it comes? Because it will come.
And it's honestly, if all you're wanting to do is pull-ups on V2s, that's fine.
More power to you.
That's fine.
More power to you. But since we're talking about fear specifically,
you should be pushing. You know,
yeah, that V2 pull up is kind of negating. It's avoiding the fear. It's kind of like never asking the girl out.
Yeah.
You know, yes, you're not going to get rejected, but you will probably never get to go out with that, you know, guy or girl. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
It's never gonna happen.
Yeah. And so since we're talking about fear, that's shying away from it never lets you engage in that working through that equation.
But like my thought process on that is like, just like the mentioning of it is like, if all you want to do is work V2 pull-ups, that's fine, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you want to do better, you're gonna have to address that fear. You're gonna have to get comfortable, pissing yourself every now and again.
Comfortable in the discomfort.
People,
the Marine Corps says embrace the suck. Yeah.
So I've said this to people so many times. I said, when you can find comfort in an uncomfortable situation, you win.
That's the hallmark of jiu-jitsu. That is literally your first goal.
Yeah. So the fear of failing in front of others is one that I think that is an easy thing to point out, because most of the time when I'm watching the kids or whatever climb, a lot of times they're constantly looking around to see who's watching, who's paying attention, and that's a really good sign to see that is the thing that they are afraid of, is whether or not they're afraid of looking stupid in front of somebody. And the thing is, I know I've seen it, but I want to say that it's never happened where somebody falls in a gym or on a climb in general, and then somebody else looks at him and goes, "You're an idiot."
Yeah.
No one does that. At least if you're a good person.
Yeah. That's the irrational side of it. Is that if you throw for it and you miss it, or you do something silly and you fall off, everyone else, especially, and that's one of the cool things about this community and this particular sport, is that we have a tendency to be really excited for you to even have tried it.
Yeah. You tried it, dude, I'm freaking proud of you. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
And that kind of goes to like an Alex Honnold quote, where he talks about, like, most of this sport is failure. As you fall way more than you send stuff. Embrace the suck, embrace the falling, enjoy the falling.
And that's one of those things, like the longer you're in the community, and the more that you experience that kind of positive reaction, no matter to success or failure, you can almost factor that into your equation. Yes, I do feel pressure because there are people looking at me and I care what they think, but I can almost write off that little nagging voice that says they're going to be disappointed in me.
Yeah.
And that helps with your with working through that fear.
Yeah, fear in general. The embrace the suck part, I like, because it literally just asks you to accept the thing that you don't like to happen. Especially in our climbing world. No, I have yet to find anybody who has not fallen.
Yeah.
Who has failed at something that they were trying. I have yet to find anybody. And the moment somebody comes into the gym for the first time, that's the only time that they will ever have not failed in climbing.
Yeah.
The moment you get on the wall, the first thing you do, you're like, "Oh, I'm scared. I don't want to do that." You step off. You immediately failed at going up or going sideways or doing the route or whatever. You immediately fail.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that is a great concept. It's a great thing to learn how to just deal with itself. Fear is not something that you should just, especially in climbing, it's not something you should just let rule you.
Yeah, and that fear sometimes isn't even just a failure. It's the fear of the sensation of difficulty. A lot of times, now that I'm a little bit older, when I was younger, I would go up to something and say, "This shouldn't feel as hard as it does." And now on my warm-ups, I just remind myself, "Hey, this is hard. This hurts. This doesn't feel great sensationally," and setting that kind of a baseline helps deal with the fear of how things should or shouldn't feel. And that kind of helps me with my fear of failing in front of myself. If I fall off of something and it felt hard, well, it was kind of supposed to. That's why you chose that one. You know what I mean? It's, again, trying to chase that line. So
the failing in front of others thing is one of the, I think it's a really big one for most people, even later in their climbing career. Like right now, if I fall in front of any of you who've been climbing for a long time, it's not a big deal.
I mean, we are going to give you a hard time.
Well, yes, but I don't really care about that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because you know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I know where it's coming from. But you go to a new gym, or maybe there's somebody that you really like, you're interested in, or maybe there's a pro climber that happened to show up, and you were like, you're not used to that. Like our gym, if a pro climber shows up, that is like, oh, that's never happened before. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's kind of a big
deal. So if somebody shows up that's really, really good, and you want to impress, and you know darn well that there would be a 12 climber on a bad day, and I can barely get up a 5, so I'm going to look stupid. So you just shy away.
Mm.
But it's the one that I think everybody experiences and never really goes away. But it's also the one that is the least rational.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, nobody cares. We care about you. We care about your trying. We care that you did try.
Well,
the
and
fact that you fell isn't really a problem.
Yeah,
But it is the one that always shows its head. It's always rearing its head, especially in kids. It is always there.
We're deeply social
It's-
creatures.
Absolutely, but it's an amazing thing because, I mean, I think about what you think about me more than you think about
Oh, 100%.
me. You know,
Yeah.
and I know that's kind
No,
of hard to follow.
That is
No,
no, it's
that's-
definitely
But it's
100%.
100%. That's what it is. It's like I am in my own head. I'm making you judge me when you're not,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that also goes back to the self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I want to be like, well, if he's thinking negatively about me, I need to make sure that I do better here and here
Yeah.
and here, so he can think more positively about me, and I can be that communal creature.
And that's also some, like, you know, the fear is never going away. The fear of the physical stuff. That
Mhm.
social fear is never going away
Oh,
either,
God,
because
no.
it's built into our psyche. The only thing that we can do is work through it, you know, by using, hey, you know, I know they care about me and they're going to be stoked no matter what happens. Or, hey, you know, if this person turns me down when I ask them out to the dance, like, life's gonna go on. It's gonna feel like it ended, but
Yeah.
it's gonna go on, you know. So working through those different social fears, because again, it's probably never going to go away.
No.
So learning to accept that fear is what I assume it's something that we all just have to learn how to deal with. But are there ways, I'll ask you guys first before I pitch in on it. Are there ways that you guys have learned to deal with that fear through different things?
Yeah.
I don't want to go.
So-
I don't want to go to the breathing stuff yet, because I know we're going to get
Yeah,
there.
we're gonna get
Yeah.
there. That's
But
right
I want to know:
under-
is there anything specific that you have found that works for you, or if
So-
you're coaching, how to help someone learn to deal with that kind, just
when
all those different types of fear?
Yeah, when I was doing a lot more leading, I would get lead head getting above my draw.
Mhm.
You know, it's a very common thing to do. And so one thing that I did to help with that is my warm-ups. I would do at least 3 routes that are, you know, way under my on-site grade.
Mhm.
And once you get to the 3rd bolt, I think that's important because now you got height. You get that bolt that you need to clip into at your waist and count to 10. And now you're like, all right, I'm 3.5, 4 foot above my last point of protection. I didn't die. Well, I didn't die. Clip and now move on and do it again for the rest of the route.
Mhm.
And it's a really good way. Like it, you know, helps train you mentally. You're hanging out, so it helps you with your resting. And
You're setting a new baseline for what should trigger the fear.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're training that fear out of you
Mm-hmm.
through in a systematic way, which I think is a great way to approach how to deal with that kind of fear. I mean, if you're afraid of gear, then the only way to really learn how to trust it, other than to go through all the manuals and learn what it actually takes and learn the specifics about of it, is to actually fall on it and then learn to trust the thing.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to train to do it. So if you're scared of falling, you go up and you fall.
Yeah, when I was first learning how to lead climb, I was climbing with some of the old timers at the Cliff Club, and so they took me to the outside, and they said, "I'm not letting you down until you take a good fall." And so I climbed. I took like maybe a 15-foot fall, and you know my body's shaking. It's my first real good one, and he said, "Well, I'm not letting you down until you do it again." And so I had 2 choices. I was going to hang out on the side of an old cement factory all day until he got tired, or I did it again. And the more that I did it, the easier it got. And the same thing with setting at the top of a head wall that's got an overhang. And you know, the first month I'd say that I was working for you, doing that stuff, you know, I probably lost a couple pounds of sweat just being up there from all the physiologic responses of fear. And the more I did it, the more I got comfortable. And by the end of it, you know, a couple years in, you know, you're swinging around like Indiana Jones,
you're fine.
flipping upside down, screwing things in one-handed. You know, it got kind of cavalier to some degree.
Yes.
But it was sad. What I would, because I've also been a teacher as well, and taught in the trades. And I would always talk about saturation and experience. And, your saturation in the environment will help build confidence, and your confidence will help you make better decisions. Not to the point of complacency, but confidence specifically.
Immersion therapy.
Yeah.
I was like, have you guys found, so your specific situation? I've seen a lot of people try to teach or coach fear out of somebody by forcing them into a situation. So taking the John Wayne situation and just throwing them in the water to get them to learn
trial
how to
by
swim.
fire.
Yeah.
Swim with the sharks.
Have you guys found that is an effective training tool? This might be more of a coaching conversation.
It's specific to the individual.
Yes, it changes with everybody, because I remember when I first started leading, I did the advanced lead belay class with you, and we got, because Bliss has 9 draws, 8 draws, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Either way, I was up there, and the whole goal is you get your waist at the draw, you're clipped into the one below it, take a big fall. And I remember I'm holding on, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was a bad hold. And I'm holding on to this thing one-armed, and you're yelling at me, "Let go!" And I was like, "Nope."
Yep.
I'm good. And you're like, "I got you." I was like, "Oh, I know, but I can finish the route. I don't need to fall. I'm good here. Don't make me fall," And eventually I took the fall. And it's like, I mean, it's not bad. I knew I'd be fine. But it's like, in my brain, I'm like, I don't have to. I don't have to take the big fall to get comfortable with it. I have to just be comfortable above my draw.
Yes.
Because
that's also important too, because what you mentioned was it was scary before it, not after it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people get so caught up in, is they're like, "Hey, this is scary," and then you fall and you're like, "Oh."
But it also, it matters in a lot of situations, where you'll fall. Okay. And so I'm going to bring up the route that you set some years back. You can totally tell watching this clip that I'm physically shitting myself. I'm moving my feet around like I'm not supposed to. I have an undercling, and I'm smeared with one foot, and I'm high clipping or something like that. I mean, I'm doing this just totally horrible. But I'd been projecting this route, and I'd already low pointed, right? And I know that if I'm tired at this point where I'm freaking out, if I get above this certain place, I'm going to fall, and my feet are going to go under the roof, and my face is going to go on the slab. And so I'm trying to protect myself before I'm even in a bad situation.
So that this is the exact reason why we've all come up with the different reasons for people to be afraid. Because just because you are afraid doesn't mean you know what the reason is. You've got to be able to diagnose what you are afraid of if you want to deal with it, no matter what it is. Let's say that I have a very sensitive topic that I want to bring up with, let's say you. Okay, I'm probably pretty comfortable trying to do that because, one, I know you, and then two, I don't have to live with you every moment. If I want to bring up a very sensitive topic with my wife, depending on your relationship with them, I might be a little more sensitive about how I do it rather than do the thing. So the important thing is you have to know what you are afraid of so that you can address it. If you don't, so if you know that falling isn't your problem, then okay, that's fine. But why are you scared 3 inches above your bolt as opposed to 3 inches below it, considering there really isn't much difference?
There's not a big fall.
So it's like learning to figure out exactly what you are afraid of is probably the first and probably most important step you can take before you can learn to deal with it. No matter what your no matter what your tactic is to deal with it, whether it be immersion or whether it just be just slowly training it out of you, whatever the case may be, you've got to be able to identify what that is.
You said fear thrives in uncertainty, and the first thing that's exactly what you're saying is reducing the uncertainty, or hopefully working entirely through it to where you are certain of what you were certain of. You're it's kind of like algebra. You're trying to work around the variables, and so you rearrange the problem until you can see what x equals, and then now all of a sudden x isn't so scary when you plug it back into the equation.
Yeah, there's even scientific research too, that, when you're on the route, if you label that fear, if you know it is and you label it, you start to activate your prefrontal cortex and reduce your amygdala, which is like the fear part of your brain.
Yep.
And so you start shifting, dropping that amygdala activity and then increasing your prefrontal cortical activity. And basically, naturally, your fear comes down as soon as you start labeling it, and you can start thinking like, okay, I'm afraid to get hurt. Okay, why am I afraid? I'm afraid I'm gonna fall and do this. Okay, how do I prevent that? And you just slowly start reasoning and increasing that prefrontal cortical.
Yeah.
activity.
And that I cannot wait to have a coaching conversation one day. But that's exactly the reason why when a kid or someone I'm coaching is afraid of something, I basically stop everything and I'm like, "What are you afraid of?" You just ask the question. Sometimes that's all it takes is just asking the question. It's like, "What are you afraid of?" And then they immediately stop thinking about the fear and they start thinking about what it is they're afraid of. And I think those are two different things. Because when you are afraid, there really isn't any thinking involved. It's just
well, yeah, it's that base level the mental response.
And what is it? It's fight, flight, and freeze.
Yeah.
Right. Well, which one do you do?
Exactly.
I think it like for everybody, I think it's going to change per situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
So we're talking about techniques. One of the techniques that I use, and it's not just in climbing. This has been when life gets hard or there's a situation that is actually threatening my well-being. Like bar fights, kind of things like that. I just imagine that I'm a junkyard dog, and you can do your best to kill me, but you won't. And then I take the clip off the dog. You know what I mean? And that's the fight part of it. The flight part of it, I've definitely run away from getting mugged in the street. You know what I mean?
So you basically flip a switch in your brain. So most of the time that I know you, you're very calm, level-headed, chill. Is probably a good way to describe it.
Oh, very
but
much
I've
so.
also kind of seen it when you do get into that mode where it changes. Yeah. So you consciously choose to flip a switch in your head where you're like, okay, now I'm going to go from I'm going to sit here and let things be cool to now I'm going to defend everything that just happened.
Yeah. But in that switch, that conscious switch happens at the end of my working through the equation.
Right.
So I've worked through some uncertainties and I've decided that this is happening, or sometimes I'll bail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll do my best to not die when I bail.
Well, sometimes you need to.
Yeah.
Right. So, of the training stuff that we do, one of the thing that I came up with to help kids and other people learn how to get through it is a very simple technique where you're freaking out. First thing you get them to do is take a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. After that, you physically look around to see if there's anything else that you can use or do that will help you do what you want to do, whatever it is. And then you try it.
So what you're talking about, the first step, taking a breath, I learned this going to a psychologist for other things, but she mentioned that when you're in a state where you don't feel like you're in control, it does change your breathing. And a lot of times your breath becomes shallow, short, and constricted. And so what you're talking about is specifically dealing with that response that your body's having that tightens up you tense up your body. And when you tense up, your diaphragm won't allow you to take a deep breath. So we have this ability as human beings over other animals where we can almost override those responses, and they're not so autonomic. They're of our own volition. So you take a deep breath, and that allows you to have oxygen in your blood so your brain can process. The second thing you said is something that they teach a lot in leadership and management is changing your perspective. So if you're staring straight forward at a piece of rock right above you, or perhaps a handhold or something, a lot of times you're not going to see other things. And again, that's the fear. The fear inside of you is causing changes that are narrowing your perspective on purpose, so that you can hone in on, an animal charging you or something like that. You can tell distance, speed, and time much easier. Whereas you're not seeing the fact that there might be something to help you out left or right. So what you're talking about is changing your perspective. Now, obviously, you can't take a step back physically because you're, trying not to fall off, but you can change the direction that your eyes point. And then you can often, usually in my experience, it's been, oh, there's something that's going to help me right there. You know what I mean? Or, oh, I could move my body this way. You know what I mean? It's changing your perspective. And the last thing to do is to do it. And this is what I've a lot of times teaching young people in the trades is pull the trigger. A lot of, you're drilling through something, you're scared to make a mistake. Do it. Just do it. You can deal with consequences, but you can't deal with inability, or excuse me, inaction.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that old, like, it's a biblical quote: "Be hot or cold, but be you lukewarm, I'll spit you from my mouth." At the end of the day, fortune favors the brave, and you got to make a decision, whether it's being brave and bailing, or being brave and attempting it.
So when I helped come up with this, I came up with that particular thing because I got to watch so many parents and so many people try to. Someone comes into the gym with their kid, and they start climbing, and they get scared, and they don't want to go any further for whatever reason. What's the first thing?
It's okay.
Be brave.
What is the first thing that almost everybody says is just be brave.
Or
Just
don't
be
be
brave.
scared.
Yes.
No, that's impossible.
Like both of those don't actually give you an action plan. So what I tried to do was take my experience as a police officer and all the stuff that I had learned in the past, and just being old as crap compared to everybody else. I was trying to figure out what it is, what I can actually give somebody to do to help them through the process. So yes, you take a deep breath, gives oxygen to your brain, so you can actually think. It forces the body to it forces the brain to slow down, and you can get oxygen to your muscles so they can actually work. Because what happens when you get scared?
You tighten up.
You do this.
Tense up.
Especially when you're on the wall. You tense up, you tighten up. Next thing you know, you're over gripping, and then now you're on a very, very short clock before you cannot physically hold on anymore.
Yep.
So you tell them to take a breath. You do that, and now the body relaxes. So now you have more time to make a decision. So, I mean, heck, one of the things that I used to tell people was like when I was on an accident or some really high stress scene where somebody was panicking, if I needed to know some sort of information, if I go up to them and they're panicking, all I'm getting is which is a completely normal reaction. But if you are trying to deal with problems, all it does is shut you down. So take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Try to use your diaphragm and not your lungs. You do that. Those two main problems immediately stop. You can think about what's going on, and now your body can learn to relax.
And it's amazing how many times you see somebody in the gym that's new for the first time. And I think at least the three of us have helped them with this. They're doing the orientation, and they've got to fall on the auto play. And they're just sitting there, and they're not doing anything. And they just can't let go. And yet again, the parents or the friends or whatever, well, don't be scared. And it's like, that doesn't necessarily help them.
No, it's discounting their experience.
Exactly.
When has that ever worked?
You sit there and you go, hey, take a breath, try and relax a little bit, realize that you're okay. This thing is going to catch you, blah, blah, blah. I still remember one time there was a person, they were holding on to it, and they were like, I'm not letting go. And I was like, well, you just hang out there as long as you want. You will come down eventually. And it was like a 10, 12-year-old kid, and they're like freaking out. And I said that, and they just went, oh, I will. Yeah, eventually I'm not going to be able to hold on forever. And I was able to take, the irrationality that they had and allow them to start thinking more rationally of like, I can either let go under my own will, or I can just get tired and fall.
And it's not even that the people that are making those comments are trying to be unhelpful.
No,
they don't know.
They're trying to be super supportive, and that's what they know. And I get it. But again, it doesn't give you an action plan to be able to implement and be able to move forward. All it does is say, be not what you are.
That's the luck on that.
They haven't mentally worked through it the way that we're kind of doing in this discussion. They don't know what be brave means. But be brave means to make a decision. And in order to make a decision, you are going to pull from all the things that we've kind of been talking about, and ultimately make a decision. Like bailing is being brave. And attempting something and failing is being brave. But to say be brave without understanding what it is behind it, and if you're yelling at your kid and telling them to be brave, they don't know what that means yet.
Yeah, the only thing that they understand is that they can't choose to come down
Mm-hmm.
because they're encouraging them. The parents most of the time are encouraging them to move up, and they don't know how to deal with that particular set of fear. So when you say just be brave, you're telling them the only option they have is to go the one way they don't want to go.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
So you got to get them out of that. So you give them that breath, and then you make the brain work by making the head do something and the eyes do something where you can actually look around to see what you have available to use to make your situation
You're
better.
also putting the power back into their hands, because when you feel like, no pun intended, rock in a hard place between doing something that you don't feel comfortable doing and someone yelling at you from the ground, I could imagine feeling kind of powerless in that, and then that adds to the whole response system. It's a whole nother level of stuff that you have to deal with. You know what I mean? So taking that breath, changing your perspective, and making a decision it puts the power of the decision back into that individual.
And then you said it great a minute ago about the last step in this thing was to try. Like, okay, what does try actually mean? And I know this sounds like one of the Bill Clinton's things. Like, what does is mean? Okay, I understand it sounds like
a
that.
lawyer.
Yes, but
define
it. When you get down to it, what does try actually mean? Does try mean success, or does try mean just a little bit of movement, or what does it mean in order to try?
Try means doing more than I currently am. Okay.
Yes.
And so, as you've said more than on one occasion, I'm stuck here and I'm not doing anything, going, and then falling. I still tried. I still did something.
Yes.
But then I think you also have to take into account the individual.
Yep.
If you saw me do that on a project, you would slap me when I got back down to the ground. You really would. Because know that I can try harder.
Yeah, because that's not how you do things. And also you in particular are past the point that this is no longer your comfort zone. Like this is your comfort zone.
But that's why I wanted to bring that up. Because depending upon who you are climbing with, going max extension might not be trying for them. Doing more than what they did, because me doing this isn't me trying anymore. That's not more than what I do. The only time my hand coming off should move 4 to 6 inches is if I'm dry firing with my other one. And that's the only time that's acceptable.
So trying is a gradient, because that's why we can say try harder. Because it's a gradient. So one of my biggest things I deal with is when I'm reaching for something, I won't release with the arm that's holding me. And so I won't feel like I can reach something, and I can't because I'm not relaxed and moving through it. And so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll shoot for something, not make it by a couple inches, realize what I did. But that, even though I didn't try as hard as I could, I still tried something. And that gave me more experiential data in order to work through my equation to understand if it was possible or impossible, rational or irrational, the fear that I was feeling in that moment. And 9 times out of 10, it's that'll and you'll hear people say that'll go.
Oh,
well, how do they know that will go after it didn't go? Is because they tried.
And that's the reason why I came up with those steps. All those reasons to get the brain back in gear, to get the brain working and moving and the body to relax. That last try bit is there just to help someone learn whether or not they can do a thing or not, or to build up the experience. Like we were talking about earlier, the more experience you have, the more confident you feel in something. But you cannot just build that experience and the confidence by just going full tilt all the time. Yeah. You can, but sometimes you need to do it incrementally. So you get those little bits.
You have to pretend. Sometimes you just have to pretend.
That saying, "Fake it till you make it," gets a bad rap, but faking until you make it is practicing. That's what it is.
But it's also, there's the fake it till you make it, and there's face it till you make it as well.
I like that.
You can face that fear. You don't have to fake that you're
not
afraid.
Yeah, we're not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just face that fear. Just keep bullheading your way into it until finally you're like, oh, I'm comfortable with this.
Yeah,
I can do this,
there's
and
a
I
guy
figured it out.
there's a guy that I grew up with, and I would always marvel because he would ask any girl out,
Yeah.
and he would get shot down a lot. But he also got a lot of yeses, and that's
Yeah.
because he just kept on facing it till he made it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Never understood it until a lot later in life. But just keep. But at the end of the day, that third piece of the equation for you is try. It's make a decision and stick with it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You've gotta build that repertoire up somehow, and the only way to do that is to make an effort.
Yeah.
And I kind of tell the kids all the time, it's like effort and trying does not mean succeeding. It means you tried to, like you said, do more than what you did. You moved past stuck and moved forward, even if it's just a little bit. And I used to say it as an example is the moon board. For me, just finding the holes to start off with I was like, okay, I counted that as a win. And then just getting my feet on and then getting off the ground, that counted as a win. That was progress for me. And then just making movement towards the next one. Like those small little bits really made a big difference, especially when I'm pushing myself in that aspect where I just got like, this is really physically demanding, and I don't know if I have it.
One thing I've always said, especially when it comes to bouldering, is success is measured in millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
Is you got 3 millimeters closer to the hold you were going to, dude, that was a good session.
Yeah.
You did good. You held on for 0.2 of a second longer. Oh, it's getting closer. It's getting better. Now it's more doable. Now you're more comfortable. You're winning.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't send it, you're getting it. You know?
Yeah, you're getting closer to that. It's gonna go.
Yeah.
You're getting closer to that level of comfort.
Yeah. There's a lot of folks out there that have information about how to make new habits and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things they talk about is setting up small wins. And so treating it as an incremental process and also treating it as climbing for life instead of climbing for right now will allow you to savor those small wins. And those small wins help build up your experience, which helps you move through these moments when you feel fear.
And it's like it's exactly the same way as like set the bar low. You know? And I love that. And you can do that with your climbing and with your everyday life. And you start doing that in your climbing, and then you put it into your everyday life. Now your everyday life's getting better.
Oh yeah,
along with your climbing. And so there's so much you can do with it.
Started drinking 32 ounces of water when I wake up, and started brushing my teeth while I use the restroom when I first wake up.
Yeah,
I got 3 wins right there. You know
exactly.
What I mean? and they're all setting me up for a better spot. And then you add on there, walking outside and watering the lawn and letting the sunlight hit your eyes. Now you got 2 more wins.
Exactly.
So setting the bar low, same reason why I remind myself when I'm warming up on a V1 or 2, this is hard. Wow. How do you guys do this? This is hard.
And setting the bar low does not mean that you have low expectations for yourself. Yeah. Having those small wins is what helps you build to the big goal, which is the exact reason why Jingles and I put Better Climber together. We wanted to teach people how to get to a higher level, safer and faster using a system that we know works, and it builds slowly. Mm-hmm. We start off doing small, stupid things. And then the next thing you know, those small, stupid things build to the point where now you're having to actually deal with mental issues in climbing. We're like, okay, well, yes, that normally comes up quickly, but if you're trying to learn how to use technique, you can focus on the small things first, and then you can start to apply that to bigger things, mm-hmm. so that now you are climbing safely and in control, or at least you're climbing well.
And now that shift and stand that we do on that fancy little box, you're doing it by your shoulder on an overhang, pulling yourself over that foot. But you were able to get to that point because of a low bar, of just doing it on a box at shin height.
So a lot of times I know that people will think when you say, oh, you set a low bar, it's like, so you're setting yourself a low standard? I'm like, no. What you're doing is you're setting yourself a win, something that you know that you can get, because you don't just get to your goal. Let's say, like I said, I never climbed over to 512. So let's say I want to climb 513. That is a big goal after 30 years of climbing and gaining 30 extra pounds that I don't need, and not training nearly as hard, eating bad and drinking more. That kind of thing does not lend itself to pushing your physical bounds anymore.
Now you
So
yeah.
if I wanted to do that, if I wanted to push past my own fear of success, then I have to take little wins. I'm like, okay, now instead of going to bed really, really late, now I should go to bed earlier so that I can get up and then have a more productive day. So just going to bed 15 minutes earlier would be a small win. And then you build success through those small wins, through momentum. You do them through little things. If you acknowledge the little things, like Jordan Peterson says, get up and make your bed.
Yeah.
Make your bed.
You already knocked one thing off your to-do list.
Yeah. And yes, that's a physical thing, and he takes it to a bigger thing, but still, those small things build into bigger things. You were talking about finances earlier.
Yeah.
You start saving a little bit of money here. Like debt is a big deal. You pay off a little thing, now it's gone. Now you have more money you're not having to pay off anymore. So now you pay off another thing, and then you get bigger and bigger. Next thing you know, you're out of debt because you paid it all off. But it builds momentum. What's his name? Ramsey. John. Is it John Ramsey? Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey is the one that actually helped me figure out how to do that kind of thing, and that is what our program is meant to actually learn how to do.
Well, and how many people do we know that haven't worked out in like a weightlifting gym since they were in high school, and they jump on the bench, try to do 225 and blow their shoulder out? So I've taken multiple breaks from weightlifting, and I come back and you're realistic and you set a low expectation, and then you savor that. So I get back on
to it again.
Yeah, you get back on, you're doing 155 on the bench, and yeah, you might feel some loss and some failure, but at the same time, you're approaching it from a perspective that's, one, more mature, two, takes into account reality. You're not living in a fantasy or a delusion, and before you know it, you're right back up to where you wanted to be. So setting a low bar, that idiom has a negative connotation, but what we're talking about is setting realistic expectations.
Yes.
And then savoring the success that comes from those realistic expectations and using that as stepping stones in order to move on. When we were coaching the climbing team, these were youth, these were young people, so we were very weary about having them do strength-based exercises.
Yes.
And I remember when I first started, you had asked me, what would you do differently? And I would say I would like to mimic some of the things that are being asked of them, and then create that in a controlled environment. And so by doing that, we can build experience, both mental and physical, and we can prepare in a controlled environment. That, in a sense, is setting a low expectation,
and it's
an
a beautiful way to do it.
An achievable expectation and a realistic expectation, and then you can scale that.
Do you remember how much we scaled them up in a year?
That was ridiculous.
Insane.
It was ridiculous.
But
it was humbling.
It so well.
Yeah.
God, they were strong.
Yeah.
But so getting back on topic a little bit here.
Yeah. So some of the things that I have also done to try and get past the fear. So once you learn how to deal with the initial part of the fear and then get to the trying part, I don't want to call them more advanced ways of doing it, but one of the things that I did is you find a way to distract yourself or to fool yourself into thinking that it is less scary than it is.
Yeah, I still remember one time I was climbing with Carson, and we were in Shelf Road, I think, and he was just like halfway up the wall, and he's like, "Hey, Jingles," and I was like, "What up, man?" And he's like, "What song do you sing to yourself when you get scared?" And I was like, "I don't."
The poop my pants song.
Like,
That's
what
what
the
I say.
hell?
Oh,
I just
God.
get scared, dude.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, "Oh, I thought you did that." I do that. And then he just starts singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And like, I think it was February or some shit like that, just floating around on this wall. And I'm just like, is that a thing? And then I found out it's a thing. And it's a thing that works really well. So sing to yourself if you start getting scared. It helps.
I found that, I say talk to your belayer, but talk to whoever you're climbing with. You're climbing yourself. Talk to yourself. You can talk to yourself back and forth, and even though it sounds lame, like, oh, look, he's got a problem. No, he doesn't really. You just need to sometimes, like you said, voice and identify the problem and then move on. I personally like a sounding board, and I don't want it to be me because I will talk myself out of stuff rather than talk myself into a thing. But talking to yourself, talking to your belayer, talking to somebody about the problem is a good way to move through that.
Talking to my belayer, I found helps really well. Like, and I don't need to have a conversation. I just need to know that you got me. Yeah. I don't need to hear come on. I don't need to hear push it. You start seeing me poop, You go, hey man, I got you.
Yeah.
All right, we're good. Let's go. I can do this.
You've eliminated one of the things that are
I've
contributing to your fear.
Taken
The
one of the
uncertainty
variables
of
out.
whether or not you're going
Exactly. It's like you say, I got you. Okay, now I know you're paying attention.
Yeah, there are times in my occupation where I'm struggling. It's like a physical occupation. I'll be struggling, and I will I'll just let myself laugh. Just laugh at it. This is ridiculous. I cannot believe that this is what's happening right now. I'll laugh, and that letting it be humorous takes some of the pressure off of it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used that in climbing. I've definitely used talking to myself. And then the third one is the opposite of what we're talking about, which is like externalizing it. I kind of narrow my focus a lot. It's kind of like if you've ever been on a really, really, really long run, you're not worried about running, 13 and a half, 16, whatever, 26 miles. You're worried about making the next step. And so when I hyper focus, I can deal with what's at hand instead of the larger picture.
Yeah.
And so that's another technique that I've used. So it's kind of dependent on what kind of mood I'm in, to be honest. But
I mean that's a low bar
Yeah.
way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
how do you eat
amazing.
an elephant? How do you eat an elephant?
Yeah,
one bite at a time.
So yeah, I mean the low bar expectation or the hyper focusing on the small thing is a good way to get past that. Again, it's a way to just build momentum. If you're going to run that far, then you don't just run a mile. You run it by taking each step, and you have to work through that. And if you're struggling on step 50 and you've got 3,000 more to go,
oh, you're done.
You've got
unless you pay attention.
You've got to
one
keep
at a
doing
time.
one step at a time.
Yeah, and that low bar. Sometimes I'll be working on a part, and I've got 4 bolts. 2 of them are fine. One of them is really hard. One of them is really easy. Sometimes I'll try the hard one first. Sometimes I'll do the easy one first. Give myself a gimme. That way I feel better about myself, and then I can struggle on the other part. So, however you want to break it up, breaking it up does help you attack an individual. You look at an entire army coming at you. How are you supposed to fight them off? You pick out the weak link. That's what they do in the animal kingdom, at least.
I like to. I think one of the tactics I wrote down earlier was rationalize the situation. So if you're really focused on like the gear thing or whatever, then you can really dial in. You're like, okay, I'm afraid of falling on this particular bolt. You can look at it and be like, okay, it's solid. It doesn't wiggle. There's no rust, whatever the case may be. Or maybe there is rust. I mean, I don't know what it is, but you can look at it and you can work through the situation by rationalizing whatever it is you're afraid of, and then just try to logically talk yourself out of the fear. It doesn't work for me very often, but I have seen it work for people who think very much different than me. There was a girl that I used to coach. I don't want to say her name because I don't want to correct, but there was a way she was very logical in the way she approached things. And if you tried to get her to deal with something that was an emotional problem, she had trouble dealing with that. But if you were able to work through it technically, and you worked very specifically, like, okay, if I put my foot here, you push through here, you can readjust the body here. If you did a technical analysis of what is going on with her, she was more willing and able to work through it because she had a specific thing to work on in order to get past whatever it is she was doing. So you're distracting yourself by hyper focusing, but you're focusing it on, instead of necessarily the next step, focusing on a specific thing that you need to do to get past a stopping point.
Even more specific. More specific. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense, because that response that we have when we're feeling fear is to hyper focus. So instead of trying to externalize and move around the fear, you're almost utilizing it. And the original question, is fear good or bad? It's neither good or bad. It's how it's utilized and what's done to work through it or with it. And that's a perfect example of utilizing exactly what fear is designed to do, is to hyper focus on a specificity. You know what I mean?
And yeah, and one of the things that I personally do, and I think most of you have probably seen me do it. If I fall on something, it may or may not be fear, but similar to that is I will come up with multiple scenarios and multiple ways to deal with a situation. So I have, every time I fall, and this is a different topic, but every time I fall, I come up with multiple plans, whether or not, let's say I fall and I come up with 5 plans. 3 of them I probably know are not going to work. But I have those options in my head, so I enjoy options. I enjoy choosing what is going to work and then making a decision and then trying that. It doesn't even whether it wins or not, it doesn't help, but it gets my brain working to solve the problem
Mhm.
rather than focusing on the issue of my fear or whatever it is that I have. So getting my brain to work rationally that way really helps me through a process.
Tools in a toolbox. The other night, I was working with a new guy who was trying to get a nut onto a bolt in a really, really hard to reach place. And he beat himself up for about 20 minutes, and then he asked me how I would do it. So I grabbed the wrench, put it on the bolt, and then used a pair of pliers to push up on it since I couldn't reach it with my finger to push up on it, and it goes on just easy as pie. And I remember coming down off the lift, telling him we have an entire toolbox. It's your blessing that you can use any of these tools, any of the ways that you can find to make this work. So the more tools that you have in your toolbox, the more equipped you are to work, whether it's working through fear or working on something in your personal life. And it also helps with your confidence because you know that when you come down, you're going to have the ability to come up with 5 different things, and then you can try them. You know what I mean? So the more things that we can use to build the tools in our toolbox, i.e., this conversation about fear in general, will help us better deal with or work through fear itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everything is a nail that needs to be hit with a hammer. Sometimes something
Yeah.
is
Well,
a nail that needs to be.
You know how many different
So,
types
but
of
that's-
hammers there are?
Exactly. But like
There's
that's
so many different types of hammers.
that's the old phrase: when you're a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah.
Right. When you're a welder, anything is what you want it to be.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Liquid
I learned
nail.
that when I was welding.
Yeah.
But it goes back to like having more tools in your toolbox. If you're a welder, you can create something to drive a nail because you don't just have the hammer that you're dealing with, kind of a deal.
Yeah, the more I do woodworking, the more I understand there's multiple ways to solve a problem in something. Like if I need to, joinery is the best way I can do it. There's multiple ways to join two pieces of wood together, and it depends on what kind of look you're looking for, how structurally sound you want it to be, how fast you want it to be. If you're a framer, you'll look at something and you'll probably want to use a nail and go boom, done. If you are trying to build fine furniture, a nail is really not necessarily your best choice. It's not as pretty sometimes, but there's tons of ways to solve a problem.
And there's colloquialisms for all of this. There's more than one way to skin a cat. You know, these are things that we've all kind of known for a long time, and we hear old timers say in their idioms.
And then we don't think about it.
We don't think about it, And so this conversation is great for that. We get the time and the space to think through this. And
it is. Well, and so I will say one of the tools you can have in your toolbox, which I think is horribly underrated, is somebody to push you.
Yes,
is
a coach of some kind. It doesn't necessarily have to be a paid coach. It doesn't. It can just be
your climbing partner, your best friend, or some random dude at the gym where you're like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna try and sissy out on this, and I need you to yell at me and tell me no." And I'll tell you what, at least at our climbing community, pretty much anybody I run up to and say that to never met me before. They'd be like, "So you just want me to yell at you to climb harder?" It's like, yeah. They'd be like, "Okay, I guess I can."
So sometimes, we're talking about earlier, fear of failing in front of others. So sometimes you get that crowd and you get the pressure of that. And you're like, "Oh, I don't want to do that."
Sometimes
in the climbing community, it's a great problem because it's not always an actual problem. Sometimes you have people that are just egging you on, pushing you, making you try harder, feeling the energy and just flowing with that. And you're like, you know what? We're all trying this route, so how about we all do it, and then you do it,
and then the next person does it,
and then you get that send train because you're building that momentum and the confidence in everyone. Yeah, that's it. Just having somebody to push you and to try with you is enough. Just having somebody there. Me, I actually most times I like people to be quiet. I don't like to do that, but knowing that you're there, really helps.
Yeah, and we're talking. This goes back to using fear for what it's for. That fear of failing in front of other people, it can cause excess stress and stuff like that can inhibit your ability to do something. But you can also use that fear and use it to your benefit. And I don't want to fail in front of you, so maybe I'll put in 3% more effort, or maybe I don't want to. So a lot of times I would climb in front of you, and since I kind of learned a lot from you, I would would be scared of failing in front of you. So I would kind of think about what you would do if you were in that situation, and then I would change my approach and not try to hit the screw with a hammer the same way, you know. And so anything that you can do to utilize fear, because it's going to happen no matter what, it's going to have the same responses to your mind and to your body. So anytime that you can work with it instead of trying to pretend it's not there or work against it, is it's going to be. There are times when you need to work through it and go, and there are times where you can just hop the wave. You know, imagine
Yeah.
surfing a 50-foot tall wave. You have to ride the fear, otherwise you will turn out poorly. So
Oh yeah.
that's it's a great point to bring up, that sometimes being around those people that can push you, it just capitalizes on what you're already feeling.
Yeah, and as much as I don't want to say it, it's also accurate. Sometimes fear is there specifically to tell you to stop.
Yeah,
Because
that
now
is true.
you've gone too far.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how many people you guys have known that have been climbing and then done something and it doesn't end well. They end up dying. I've had
Yeah.
at least 5 people I know that have died in climbing accidents, and I, without going to any of their specific situations, I think some of it is that they just pushed through what would have been a natural stopping point
Mhm.
in their brain. They didn't listen to the fear that told them they
Mhm.
pushed through.
Mhm.
And there are times to do that. Like Alex Honnold when he's climbing and he's doing his free solo stuff, or anyone who does free solo
Yeah.
stuff, which I very much am against. And in principle, like the stuff is amazing. Like when they
It's
do
impressive.
I will never take away their feats.
Yeah.
Like that is
It's true.
absolutely impressive and something that I can never do, and also something that I will always encourage people to avoid, just because of maybe it's my own fears
Mhm.
of watching somebody else
Perish.
fall, get in trouble,
Yeah.
die, or whatever the case may be. That kind, being able to push yourself that far and be successful is very limited. I don't think there are very many people that can do that successfully, especially not for a long period of time. You might get lucky once or twice, but it's a very hard thing to push yourself to your absolute limit and ignore your fear and still be able to survive.
Well, it's the old phrase: there's old climbers and bold climbers, but there's no old bold climbers.
Mhm. Yeah,
You gotta figure out where that line is, and you've got to balance on it, and it is a very delicate line to balance.
And it is something that each of us will have to fight. I mean, it's not like I say Alex Honnold specifically because he's one of the most famous free climbers, free soloists out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not trying to take anything away from him. Everybody has their own line, their own limit, and whatever it is they're willing to deal with. And we've all got to be able to find it. The problem comes when you push yourself too far and you're not able to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, for example, Alex Honnold has pushed himself too far, but he's been able to deal with it. He's been successful. He's been able to keep his head in control. All those guys that do that kind of thing, that push themselves well beyond what is considered to be a normal practice, all those guys are amazing for being able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's impressive that they can, but it's also important that we all know where our own line is. And you won't know it until you get to it and you find it.
Or cross it. Yeah, that fear is always going to happen. It's a natural thing. And what it's doing is it's causing you to pay attention and make a decision. And that's why I say it's still not a bad thing to bail.
No.
If you run through your equation and the equation is this isn't worth it for me, then that's admirable in my opinion.
Well, and it's like there's two phrases that I think of when you say, like, don't be afraid to not do it. Mm. It's complacency kills. Mm. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I've been fine every other time, I'm going to be fine this time, it's not going to happen. No, it's going to happen. And the other one is always err on the side of safety. Or when in doubt, don't. Yeah. It's those are the big ones that I can think of, because like literally, like you could just make one tiny little mistake, climbing a sport route, and you're taking 100-foot fall. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. Well, what's yet again, what's the situation? Are you on a 600-foot route and you're 300 foot off the deck and you're just taking 100-foot whip?
Yeah.
or are you 70 feet off the ground?
So I
And,
was,
you know,
yeah, I was proud of one of the kids. We went out to Colorado for a climbing trip, and one of the kids was leading. I think it was one of their first times outside. Strong kid, gets up above his bolt, and an area we hadn't been before. So he just keeps climbing. He's like, I don't know where the bolt is. We're looking at the guidebook while he's still climbing, and he's on a relatively safe area. He's on a slavish area. He's got good feet and all this other good stuff, but he recognizes that his next bolt is 25 feet away, and he's like we're all being encouraging and stuff like that, but I'm like, he's like, I don't know where to go or what to do, and eventually I think it was me or the other coach that was there made a comment. It's like, you make your choice. If you feel comfortable moving forward, then I've got you. If you
Yeah.
don't, then we can work our way down. And he chose to back off. It was beyond his comfort level, and
Yeah.
I made a big deal about that when he came down. I was like, that was a very smart choice.
Yes.
You were done. You didn't know what to do. You were scared, and you didn't know what options you had. You made a smart choice to come down, and I thought it was great.
But
Yeah.
I also think it was good on you to not put your fear on him, where it's like, oh, you got 25 foot till your next bolt. Like, I'm not comfortable with you doing that. It's, okay, well, now he's scared, you know? And so, like, when somebody else is doing the thing that you find sketchy, you kind of need to
Yeah,
let him
how-
do it.
Just like psych is
You
contagious,
know?
so is fear.
Yeah. How
Absolutely.
often do we project
If-
our fears on other
If
people?
I start getting scared because Sam decided he wanted to climb 35 foot in the air with no rope or harness and there's no pads out or anything else, he could be totally fine. Until I'm like, oh my God, Sam, you're not tied in.
Well, when you have
And
a,
now Sam's pooping on the side of a wall.
you have a
you
young
know?
child that falls, and the first thing they do is they look at the parent, and,
Yeah.
and depending on your reaction. So, my kids too, and every time he falls, no matter how hard he takes a digger, I always tell him, "Good catch."
Yeah.
That's my only response is "Good catch," and now when he takes diggers, he just gets up and keeps moving.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, we're very susceptible to, again, that social side of our existence. We're very susceptible as to what other people are thinking, and so if we're scared for people, we're projecting our fear. That can compound on their end. In the case of the individual who backed off, that's incredibly mature.
I
A
thought
lot, a lot of folks that I've seen that have gotten hurt are treating it in an immature fashion, and like not taking into account the severity of what we're doing. Like, just like any thrill-seeking activity, we have to be realistic about this. Someone could get really hurt or worse, and so treating it in an immature fashion just invites that in. It's that complacency. So that's a very mature decision for a young person to make, and it seems like you created an environment for them to be able to practice that maturity.
And it's that specific instance is one reason why I do not like the phrase "be brave," where you're boxing them into go forward or you're no longer brave type situation. I don't like that. I like to be able to that stop, look around, and then make a decision and try. Well, maybe your try really is going back is the safer direction. Maybe I need to start over. I need to reevaluate where I'm at. So being able to back down, being able to not be forced into a specific position, when you have that option.
Yeah, it's like being brave, walking away from someone who wants to fight you.
Yes.
Brave doesn't mean fighting everyone that comes across your path. Being brave is dealing with everything that happens when you don't swing back.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah. There's a lot of words and terms that have a lot of connotation in them, and brave is one of those that means move forward at any cost, and that's not necessarily accurate.
No, I think that like being brave is like trying to think of the best way to word it. Being scared but still making a rational decision.
Yes.
Because you can't be brave if you're not scared.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
You have to be scared to be brave. That's just by definition.
And it's okay to be scared.
Absolutely. And because yet again, that goes back to it's a survival technique that all of us have.
Yep.
And so we're all going to be scared of different things for different reasons. But like you should try and be brave, but be brave within reason.
Be brave, make a
Because-
decision.
And
Whatever
because yet
that may
again,
be.
That's the key. You're
Make a
brave in the
decision.
fact that you make
Made
a decision.
Yep.
yeah, and then commit to it.
Yep.
You have to commit to it.
Oh,
And-
that, yeah, 100%.
But the other thing is a lot of times it's just not scary afterwards. Once you've committed, whether you're committing to backing off, whether you're committing to moving forward, it's not scary anymore.
No.
Let's
The
go,
decision is scary.
let's go back to asking the girl to prom or whatever it is
Yep.
you wanted to do. The anticipation of and trying to do that
Yeah,
was harder than the actual doing.
which
Once
is
you did it, even if it ended poorly,
Yep.
which I mean it may have, when it ended poorly,
yeah,
I still felt better.
yeah.
One because I tried, or two because now you know the answer.
Same thing with having that tough conversation with your significant other.
Mhm.
All the anticipation is jacking with your head and your heart rate. And
Yeah.
once you do it, even if it doesn't go perfectly, you still have a lot of, it's like a sense of relief.
But
Almost.
that also circles back to you think about, or
Yeah.
I think about what you're thinking of me more than you do.
Mhm.
When you're sitting here, you're going, I'm going to say this, and they're going to react this way.
Yeah.
They might not.
Yeah, we build monsters in our own minds, and everything that we've been talking about is a way to change our perspective, take a deep breath, and to be able to deal with each different piece of that puzzle. And then once the puzzle, I don't know about you guys, but like jigsaw puzzles, they're hard for me because 1,000 pieces sitting there scattered, it's overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
too much to deal with.
But
You get a corner,
once
you
you
get
get
a
the
corner,
border,
yeah, and then now you're starting to work through it.
now it's
And then once the puzzle's done, it almost doesn't even seem like it was that much.
Yeah.
Same thing when you pick up a nice thick book. Sometimes it's hardest just to crack the first page. And then before you know it, you're 2/3 of the way through, and it seems, oh, I could finish this book in a reasonable amount of time. Yeah.
And one of the problems that I know that I have and that stalls me out quite a bit is that I'm a big planner.
Mm-hmm.
I want something to go right. So what I'll do is I'll think about all the things that could go wrong, and then I try to set guardrails or ways to fix those before the problems actually come about. Which is, I think, is a good way to do things, personally. However, I find that I spend an hour, 2 hours planning a thing, or in case of some of the woodworking things that I do, I'll spend like a week or
Mhm.
two thinking about something and planning on how to do something, and then I've not actually done it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing I know, it takes me half as long, take me 2 hours to maybe do the project, and it took me a week and a half just to prepare mentally to even before I even cut the first piece.
Yeah.
You can only plan for so long,
Mm-hmm.
which is why that breathe, look around, and then try comes about, because you put yourself on a timer, even though it's not a conscious timer. Like, oh, I have 4 seconds to move.
Mhm.
No, your body's on a timer, but you breathe, give yourself time, look around, make a decision, and then you move.
Yeah.
Once you start moving, you know if you
Well-
succeeded or not, and then you can make more plans to build off of that.
Adjustments. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's just another technique, is like an artificial timer, and that I've you go skydiving and they tell you it's going to be on the count of 3 and we're going out of this plane. If it wasn't for the count of 3, I would never be getting out of that plane.
Yeah, I get you.
So giving yourself an artificial time is not anything groundbreaking.
Well-
I mean, we have on your mark, get set, and go. Otherwise, we would all be waiting in anticipation at the starting line.
Yeah.
So,
But it's
Yeah.
also one of those things like when I end up in the situation where it's like, all right, I'm stuck, I don't know what I'm doing. I have 3 breaths.
mm-hmm.
If I give myself more than 3 breaths,
You're probably not going to
take
move. Yeah, exactly.
because I'm
Yep.
hanging out now because of all I'm doing is pumping
Yep.
myself out.
Yeah.
How much more
Fucking
energy are you
anyways.
willing to waste?
Yeah, it doesn't matter that and whatever other excuse I want to come up with. But you get in the situation, you do what is it? A double inhale, single exhale, double inhale, single exhale. It's supposed to help relax you and help you breathe.
Yeah, there's
Better.
there's a physiologic side as
Isn't-
well, which is
doesn't it like-
it's full in through your nose, and then long inhale, and then a sharp inhale to top it off,
Mhm.
and then a long exhale through your mouth, and that's
Yeah.
it changes pretty much everything inside
Yeah.
of your body. The same thing.
I don't
It's like
remember the exact feel of what happens,
Yeah.
but it's something with your lower lung and
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a natural way to
Yeah.
manage stress. But yeah, what I used to always tell myself was breathe and execute.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
And then
Man,
if you,
That's the
I'm-
basis of how I get people to calm down and relax.
Yeah,
Breathe,
and I'm sure
choose, and do.
do it.
I'm sure you guys have all heard me say it at the gym before. Take a breath, now do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just what you need to do. Just take a breath and do the thing.
Yep.
It's not scary when you're done, right?
That's a great way to cap it off. It's not scary once it's done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I very much appreciate everybody
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a lot of
showing
fun.
up
I
for this
think this was-
conversation.
I think this
had a
was
good
really
time.
good.
Yeah.
I hope that anybody that watches this can find at least, a nickel of information
Yeah.
in,
Anything we can do to
in the
help
time
out.
that we laid out for them, if you will.
'Cause we don't we've all definitely been afraid of something at some
Oh.
point, whether it's in this climbing endeavor or a personal life or a career move or anything of that sort. Like we've all dealt with this, and we've all had our fair share of licks, and and we've all learned what we've learned. And that's why it's nice to be able to share it with y'all, get some different perspectives and different
Yeah.
tools and tricks,
Yeah.
and
All the
different
good
ways
stuff, mate.
to work with it. Yeah.
But yeah, so I suppose on that note, does anybody have anything they want to cap off?
Jackie, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Of course.
Sam?
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Amazing.
for having us. This is fun.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope we can do something similar to it in the future, and
I hope it wasn't too scary.
I hope it was just the right amount of scary.
So
Yeah.
no.
And
We can't
Really?
do a video without me saying something that's really stupid.
yeah, pretty
Mhm.
much
That was it.
same thing.
That was one of them.
But yeah, I think we can just end it right there.
Yeah,
and just
that's a
call
good
it
one.
day. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
hope you enjoyed it.
Bye.
Love it.